Immigration has been a hot button political issue for as long as I've been alive, and it's as relevant today as it's ever been, with immigrants from Haiti streaming over our southern border. The people on the right are being vindicated in saying that our weak border policy is not working. But immigration is a more complicated issue than both the people on the left and on the right typically address it as. Let's start with the right-wing case. They will say that without a border, you don't have a nation. And they are correct. If you do not have the ability to control who comes in and out of your country, you do not have a country. And this is important for the left-wing ability to get their policies across. If you want to have a functioning welfare state, a state that provides benefits to its citizens, you need to be able to define who a citizen is. Because nobody is going to be willing to kick in, pay their taxes to support a welfare state if they feel as though there is no clear definition of the community who is being benefited. We've seen socialist-type policies work fairly well in certain European countries. However, in those European countries, they have tight borders, it's hard to get citizenship, and usually their communities are very homogeneous so that people feel as though there is a national community of sorts. They feel as though the people who are benefiting from the welfare state are not incentivized to attempt to cheat the system, because it almost feels as though everybody in the country is your neighbor because they have such a tight society. If we have tens, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people streaming in over the border every year, it effectively is taking the money of the people who pay taxes and distributing it to anybody who has the will to hoof it over the border, which will prevent us from ever having effective social safety nets, because there will be large portions of the country who justifiably are not willing to pay for that. But the problem goes deeper than that. We need immigrants in this country, and that's because we need to continue to have a growing population to stimulate our economy. And if you look at the demographics from the 2020 census, the United States population is not going to grow without immigration. In fact, it will shrink because people are having less children than are dying. Your average person is no longer having, or your average couple is no longer having more than 2 children. They're having slightly less than that. And that means that if we want to continue to have a growing population, to continue to have young people to drive our economy, to consume and produce, we need to bring people in. And immigration is a great tool to do that, especially when you're the United States. We are probably the most desirable country in the world to live in, despite all of our many flaws that I spend hours detailing on this channel. And we need to take advantage of that. We need to put out an open invitation to the world and say, if you are a lawyer, if you are an engineer, if you're a doctor, immigrate to America. We would be happy to have you. We need to make the immigration process as easy as possible for these talented individuals to come into America. We need to welcome them with open arms. If we want to have a future for this country where we have a strong social safety net and where we continue to have economic growth, we need to say yes to immigration, but no to the wrong kind of immigration. Having millions of people stream across the border is bad, but having talented individuals welcomed into this country is good. And even taking in these Haitians, who are undoubtedly, some of them coming in with very valid claims for their need for refugee status, could be a very good thing. A lot of these people will work extremely hard because they recognize the opportunities this country presents to people. However, we need to have them come in an orderly way. So don't get pulled into the anti-immigration, immigration is always bad rhetoric of the far populist right, but also be aware of the fact that the open borders policy is a policy that's driven by people who want cheap labor, by people who want to bring in people because they think that they're going to vote for them in the future. And understand that if you're somebody on the left, you shouldn't support this because it's antithetical to developing a strong welfare state and one that benefits Americans.